Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of Good Guys Sports, joined by myself, your host as always, Blake Gerke, Jackson Gerke, and Mike Ribby joining me here on this wonderful November evening. And the sports world is not letting up. The games are coming thick and fast, but we must first say goodbye to the sport of baseball as the season ended on November 1st in a game 7 for the ages. I'm sure all of you listening and viewing out there were watching this game, we're following this game, know what happened. But since the last time we recorded an episode, the series was concluded in an all-time classic, you must say, game 7, where the Los Angeles Dodgers outlasted the Toronto Blue Jays in 11 innings. It was a crazy game. Probably, if I have to say personally, the craziest ending to probably the most entertaining, definitely World Series, possibly even playoff series that I have watched, certainly in my recent memory, in terms of MLB postseason. And I just think in general, this MLB postseason put together some really great series. Particularly, I'm thinking back to the ALCS between Seattle and Toronto. I'm thinking back to some really fun series on the National League side as well. There are some crazy games in Dodgers, Phillies, and earlier series as well, for example. But this series really lived up to the hype, and it was 11 innings. It took 11 innings to split these teams. Toronto thought they had it won. The Dodgers probably thought they had it won at some point in this series as well, didn't they? And it took some pretty miraculous stuff to happen, some crazy bounces, some balls getting stuck in the in the outfield wall where guys are putting their hands up. We had all kinds of crazy things. We had margins of about this big in terms of people's cleats stepping off the plate, somebody possibly sliding the wrong way, outfielders colliding. I mean, Mike, this series had everything, didn't it?
It was very entertaining. I'm with you. I can't remember a series that was as entertaining and kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. Uh, you know, Hats off to the Blue Jays. They had a tremendous year. They had a game 7 in the ALCS, but that game 7 coming into, they had a 4-2 lead. Dodgers hit another solo shot in the eighth inning. And then Roberts put Rojas into the game. He bats in the top of the ninth. He hits solo shot to tie it up.
Unlikely hero.
And then you had uh, Bichette leading off with a single in the bottom of the ninth. They put a pinch runner in for him. The pinch runner ends up being on third base. The Blue Jays had bases loaded with one out. And then the ball's hit to Rojas at second. He sort of fumbles it a little bit, rifles it to Will Smith, and nails the pinch runner by a nanosecond.
It was such fine margins on that play, wasn't it? It
You
was
know,
crazy.
to do the what if, what if he had taken a better lead on third base?
Right. I've seen a lot of scrutiny about one, the lead that he had at third base, and then two, possibly the way that he slid.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's all, after the fact that you
Oh
can
yeah.
you can question everything, right? But I mean, do
Monday
you have
morning
question
quarterback.
marks about those things, or you just think it's just part of the game? I mean, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the game, but questioning it is always going to be a fan favorite thing to do. Look at where Muncy, third baseman, was playing. He was playing in because he was expecting a bunt, and the runner on third base should have taken an equal distance lead from the distance that Muncy was from third base. The third baseman should have taken an equal distance lead. Had he done that, he would have been safe.
Right. So the argument is, well, I don't want to. get caught on a double play to third
Yeah.
base kind of thing. But
Yeah.
also, my personal opinion, this is not really a regular scenario. This is a clinching game in the World
Oh,
Series,
I know.
bases loaded. Like, I feel like you have to almost take a bit of a gamble there, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, Will Smith hits a solo shot in the 11th, and then Vlad leads off with a double, and he ends up on third base. So they have Blue Jays still have a chance. They got a runner on third base with one out. The next guy up walks, and then their catcher Kirk grounds out into a double play.
Brutal,
Wah, wah.
brutal stuff up there
Oh, it was
in Toronto, man.
just brutal.
So
Just
many
brutal.
so many situations, Jackson, for Toronto that they'll be looking back and kicking themselves. Ultimately, it was a heck of a run for them. I mean, I think back to that play in the outfield where the center fielder Pages ends up running over his own player and catching the ball, and that prevented
Yeah.
that. I mean, that was a series saving play there
And he
in
was
of
just
itself.
he was just inserted in the game.
Right, right. He was thrust in there to center field, and he comes up with a crazy play. I
Yeah.
mean, so many of those instances, Jackson, where Toronto can think if this happened, if this guy's took another foot lead, if his foot was off the base there, but ultimately Jackson, the Dodgers come out on top, and they've gone back to back here, man.
Right. And for the Blue Jays, they had the bases were loaded. They had their chances, but they had but to me they took way too many missed opportunities where where one of the Dodger catchers, those two players that you mentioned, KK Hernandez and one of their players coming after the ball, which they caught it. The ball, the deep ball, the long ball was not hit hard enough. That went right in the stands. Except the wind must have blew it like um in field, into the center field, and that was really the difference in that game. But the Blue Jays did jump into a to a 3-0 lead by Burchett, who homered in the second, um, and then doubled and scored in the sixth. But 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 um, but since then, it was all Dodgers, like you guys mentioned about Muncy and Rojas and Will Smith homered in the 11th, and that was and that was where you have to blame it on the bullpen and the pitching for the Blue Jays, because that was really the turning point for me. And I think that with their pitchers and what they should have, whether the right question, they should have went with the right or wrong guy. I mean, let's face it, the teams that jumped into an early lead have won the World Series most of the previous times, except the Dodgers were the ones that were still alive and got back in this thing where the Blue Jays were this close. They were this close to be crowned World Series champions, except Muncy didn't want any part of it, and he changed that, and that was
Not
where
so
things
fast.
got interesting. And then Rojas tied the game in the in the in the top of the ninth, and that was where things got more interesting for the Dodgers, because of this of what Dave Roberts and showed no quit for this ball club, and showed never give up, and Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani by far. Yeah, Ohtani did have some struggles early in the game, but late on in the game, that Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani were by far the star players of the game for those Japanese pitchers, and that to me just shows you of how great of a Dodgers team it is, and how they became the first team to repeat as world champions since the Yankees did it 25 years ago, between 98 and 2000. And and that just shows you a lot for the belief of what the Dodgers did. And if I go back to the last Game 7 winners have all won by the road team. So so if you think about it, the home team is not really their friend. So the last time the Game 7 was won by the World team in the World Series, you have to go back to the 2019. Uncle Michael likes this. So you have to go back to the 2019 World Series where the Nationals won at Houston, where Steven Strasburg was named Most Valuable Player in that World Series. So
I believe every single road team won every single game in that series too, right?
Yes,
that was crazy. That's never going to happen again.
First and only time that's happened.
Yes, but the last time that's happened, but the last time a Game 7 winner has won by the home team in front of their crowd was you would have to go back to 2022 where that doesn't count, but the last time a Game 7 winner that has won by the road team, you have to go back to 2011 between the the only one that I can think of that's won by the Game 7 winner is the classic 2001 but between the Cardinals and the Rangers and the classic 2001 Randy Johnson Arizona Diamondbacks between the Yankees. That was the last time that happened, but since then it has all been the road team for the last 5 previous Game 7 winners. Where it all started, you had the San Francisco Giants beating the Kansas City Royals in 2014, and then the Royals beating the Mets in 2015. The Cubs beating the Indians in what was a great classic.
That was a classic as well.
Classic, yes, in a classic thriller over the Indians that year, yes, and then the Astros winning 5-1 in at Dodger Stadium in 2017, and then our beloved Atlanta Braves winning on the road at Houston in the 2021 season.
That was a Game 6, I think. Yeah.
Yes, but you get the idea.
Yeah, clinching on the road, yeah, for sure.
But so far, but my point, and then last Saturday night, a few nights ago, the Dodgers winning in a 5-4-11 thriller over their Blue Jays for those beloved fans for the team up north, which if I'm the guest right now, that they are all in disbelief and they're all in heartbreak for the fans that are up in Toronto, that they're about to shaking their heads and that they would be so devastated that they lost this thing and they had it and they blew it. That was the difference. They to me they ran out of gas and that's really why they lost the World Series, is that the efficiency and they just they just really looked out of sorts and also something tells me that the Blue Jays, why they lost the game they blew it is because they celebrated too early, and that was part of the reason why the Dodgers came from behind and won back-to-back World Series, and they are going to be on quest to even have a better record than the 1998-2000 Yankees, and it will match and tie for the most memorable sports franchise, North American pro sports, to be tied for the most recent back-to-back champion in all of North American pro sports history, which ties the 2022 and 2023 season Kansas City Chiefs. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions, and yes, as we all know, they failed to as we all know, yes, as we all know, yes, and as we all know, they failed to reach to win a three-peat, as we all know, since the Eagles' defensive line denied them in that Super Bowl. But the Dodgers are open and they are turning the page, and that was saying to yourself, yes, that was a great World Series win, but now they turn the offseason and start a new year, and they're going to be on quest to become baseball's and the latest for North American pro sports team to win a three-peat since the Lakers did it for the last team that did it back in the early 2000s. For the last pro sports team that did it for in that instance from that decade. But the Dodgers, if they come back strong next season and quest no one to get a free peat, then they will join their other sports team in the city, the Lakers from the 2000 and 2002 season.
Titletown.
When it was all by Steve Nash, in the Kobe days, and yes, the Dodgers, if they win a free peat, they will join the Dodgers. The Dodgers, they win a free peat, then they will join the Lakers as the next best pro sports team in the city to quest and conquer a free peat.
The stakes are high for sure, and this team is certainly on the path for greatness. And it doesn't look like they're going to be stopped anytime soon. But Mike, I wanted to bring up Jackson mentioned Yamamoto. We have to mention him, World Series MVP, obviously pitch gems.
He pitched 6 innings, started game 6, and then comes in and pitches 2 2/3 inning in game 7, no rest.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean he well deserved MVP, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Particularly his complete game in game 2.
I don't see too many of those these days, do you?
No, especially in the World Series. So yeah, that was phenomenal. I think Yamamoto's only hit was Vlad's double in the bottom of the 11th.
Yeah,
it's the only hit he gave up. So
it seemed like Roberts recognized he was the hot hand, and he just, you call it desperation, call it putting the ball in your best player's hands. But I mean, credit to Roberts for recognizing we got to put Yamamoto in the game. This is the most important inning of our season. So
he's the one that put Rojas into the game. He put Paja in the Page, the center fielder, into the game. I mean, he he looked pretty good as far as managing that, the late innings of that game.
You got to give David Roberts some credit here as a tactician for sure. The moves that he made paid off in big time, didn't they?
Yep. So what's next for baseball is next week they'll announce the MVP, the Rookie of the Year, the Manager of the Year, the Cy Young, and then we'll call it a season.
Any early predictions on any of those, Mike? You got?
Well, I think my predictions for the National League MVP would be Ohtani. I think Kyle Schwarber will come in second. In the American League, I'd like to see Cal Riley get it, but I think Aaron Judge will probably get it.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think maybe the fact Raleigh did what he did as a catcher plays in his favor, given the historical precedent for that position, right?
No, I would agree. I would agree. It's the only reason why I think that Judge would get it because
Yankee bias.
Yankee bias, big city, big market versus Seattle, small market team. But I think Cal Riley certainly deserves the MVP.
I cannot disagree there at all with any of those predictions, Jackson. Yeah. Any thoughts there? And National League MVP, American League MVP?
Well, I have to disagree with Uncle Mike. I think Kyle Raleigh will finish first in AL MVP voting, and I'm going to put Aaron Judge second.
Okay.
And Carl Schwarber will finish first in the NL MVP voting, and
what about Ohtani?
And Ohtani is going to be second. He'll finish second.
Well, that would be fine with me. I hope you're right, Jack.
Can only hope.
Yeah.
Well, some big names atop those lists for sure. I'm just looking up the odds for the Cy Young really quick as well, because I had forgotten they wait till this late in the year. I would imagine the Cy Young race is pretty set in stone with Skubal in the American League's Skeens in the National League. I wouldn't
Hmm.
expect any different results from there, right, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's who I would go with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I guess to close the knot here on baseball, Mike, what would we rank the season, overall thoughts as a whole, complete package? I think personally, myself as a Braves fan, disappointing. Yourself as a Nationals fan, maybe you didn't have as high expectations, so you weren't as disappointed. But as a season, I guess looking at it from start to finish, March, April to October, November, what were your overall thoughts on this campaign?
Well, I'm always biased um because I love watching baseball. I think that the playoffs this year were really enjoy. I loved watching the playoffs this year. I think I had a good playoff season.
I agree.
I just hope they get the new collective bargaining agreement resolved so that 2026 is not the last season of baseball.
So I was going to ask about that. Obviously, that's kind of the big talking point, tying in with this World Series as well. Big talking point. There's been speculation about a proposed salary cap,
Hmm.
maybe not directly aimed at a anti-Dodgers salary cap, but people are kind of putting two and two together, saying Dodgers are outspending everyone, winning back-to-back World
Hmm.
Series. Maybe it's time for a salary cap. Do you think that's ultimately going to be the big sticking point? And if you were had the call, would you implement that salary cap?
Well, I think that, the owner's going to want the salary cap, obviously. And I think the deferred money payments are going to be another thing that they're going to negotiate. I mean, look at Otani, uh, 800 million, but all but a million a year is deferred. You know,
He hasn't gotten paid in weeks.
so that's a huge sticking point. I mean, these guys just from a it can't continue to make a nine figure uh contracts for all those years. I mean, something's got to give. And after all, I mean, they're playing a game. They get to play baseball for a living.
Not a
So
bad gig at all.
not a bad gig. So I don't, you know, I mean, more power to the players, if, more they can get, but it has to come to a time, or a point where enough money is enough.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And hopefully for us fans, they come to a quick resolution there for sure.
Yeah.
Because it was like you said, it was a great postseason. So hopefully we get
Hmm.
a lot more of those in the near future.
Yep.
And that and that, like Blake said, that we're sad that baseball season is over. Now we're going to have to wait until mid-February for pitchers and catchers reporting the two words that Uncle
Pitchers and
Mike says.
catchers. I can already smell the pitchers and catchers report. They're
But
not
then,
that far away, right?
well,
No.
yeah, they're right around the corner. You have to wait till 2026 for it. But it's certainly never too ahead to start planning on the next baseball season, which I can assure you that Uncle Mike and Aunt Lori have already got their 2026 national season tickets already underway.
Absolutely.
So there's hope, and that's something that
There you go.
yeah, so that's something that you can always look forward to, despite that you're heading into the off season and you're going to have those winter meetings
Yeah.
down in Orlando and some holiday parties to be involved and some off season moves and obviously and obviously some moves in the game and then of course there's always going to be some major changes in the off season too. So there's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
which I'm sure we'll get to for another for another time at some point on the show,
Yeah.
which I know Brother Blake and I will touch upon for another time.
Yeah. And a topic for another time, Jack. In the next few weeks, you're gonna have to catch me up on the Boozer twins playing for Duke.
Oh, trust me,
Oh
we'll get to
yeah,
that. We'll get to that. Don't worry. The the speculation and the fanfare is high in Durham for sure for those Boozer boys, which we
It
will get
should
to.
be.
But Jackson, I want to pivot a little bit now to college football, and I don't want to start with our usual matchups, yada yada yada. I want to start with the college football playoff rankings. I believe this was the first set of CFP rankings. Is that correct, Jackson? That came out this Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. So the CFP rankings, this big mysterious governing body called the CFP, not really that mysterious. They interview the head of it every time, but I like to think of it as a mysterious governing body that dictates these rankings. And so just to run through it, Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU, interestingly enough, Texas Tech, Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma, Utah, Virginia, Louisville at 15th. Now, I'm biased here, Jackson, but Vanderbilt came into this ranking at 16th, which I believe the way that the seeding works, they would currently not be in the playoffs as it stands here. And I understand they lost to Texas, who themselves are ranked higher, but there's a lot of teams with two losses ahead of them. And some of these losses that these teams have are not particularly impressive. And I don't know. I mean, BYU is playing Texas Tech this weekend, so one of those teams will knock each other out in terms of that ranking. So maybe I'm getting all worked up over nothing. But Jackson, I want to just jump to you quickly on your initial reactions to this first CFP ranking here, man.
So my instant reaction to the rankings is that Ohio State is still the best team to beat in the world of college football. That they are defending national champions. They they have Julian Sayin and that they have the best defense and best team in all of college football right now, and that Julian Sayin is playing at a very high level, finding all of his great young and veteran playmakers, and then but and then Indiana is a great storyline. That Indiana is for real. That they are by far Kurt Kubiak, the program the players that he's recruiting, and the program that's turning around and playing at a high level. The Hoosiers are for real, and Indiana, unlike Vanderbilt,
What?
will make the college football playoff,
Oh,
and
come
they are
on.
going to get in as a Cinderella story, and those fans up in Bloomington will be there. Will be there to celebrate. And this Indiana team is for real, and they have the best players. They have the best team, in my opinion. Francisco Mendoza is a candidate for in the running for a Heisman Trophy, and he is playing some great football. Um, um, Francisco Mendoza is he so he's got 16 touchdowns, and he's got 16 touchdowns, and he has a fewer interceptions, and that tells you how great of a player he is. And
That was a good season.
exactly, and by far,
Can't deny that.
and then and then you have teams in the SEC that are really good, and such as Texas A&M and Alabama, who are looking to possibly meet each other in the SEC championship, and possibly SEC team to make a run for college football playoff like there always is, since Georgia did it last year. So I think that
Well, let's not
Alabama.
let's not forget the Aggies have to travel to Austin at the last week of the season, Jack.
Well, that's true. That's true. I forgot to mention about that, but yeah, that is a big game in a few weeks, because if you remember the last time Texas played A&M each other, that they actually that Texas went in the that Texas if I recall went into A&M and they beat the Aggies, and Texas went on to the SEC championship game last year. That to me is determined who that to me is determined that to me was the difference. And so And so to me, the winner of that game is probably going to get into college football playoff, but the loser of that game is probably not going to make it. That's really how it's all going to go down.
Yeah, I think
So
if Texas wins, they're definitely in. I think A&M will still win, even if
right.
they lose one game the rest of the season. To your point, though, it'll be interesting to see how the SEC West shakes out. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does the SEC for the championship game they still have divisions, right? East and West, or is it just
No,
top?
no,
It's just top two.
yes,
Ah,
yes.
okay, interesting.
So they don't do division anymore like they used to. Like for example, SEC East West.
I kind of
They don't
liked
do
that
that.
though.
They don't do that anymore. They do the top two teams, and that's
Game's
really
gone.
yeah. The game is far and gone, and really and really the landscape of college football has changed ever since then, and that's really the world that we live in college athletics. So whether you like it or not, there's going to be changes, and that's really the world that we live in currently.
Jackson, let me ask you this really quickly before I jump to Mike. You mentioned the top of the table here, Ohio State, Indiana. If Ohio State was playing Indiana on a neutral field this weekend, say they're playing in the Sugar Bowl, so there's no home field advantage either way, who are you taking to win this football game, Ohio State or Indiana? I want a straight answer here.
I'm going to be it's going to be a close one. This game could go either way, but if I had to choose, I'm going to go slightly Ohio State in this
Okay.
one.
Okay. Interesting. I was wondering if you were going to take the leap, but I understand it's tough to give Indiana the credit when they haven't been there and done that come
Look,
playoff bowl game time. So
yeah.
I understand your hesitation.
Look,
Me,
look,
yeah.
look. But my point is, Blake, is that Indiana can definitely hang around with the Buckeyes, but in the
Yeah.
end, I think whoever comes down to the final play,
Experience
especially
prevails.
yes, exactly, and I think the Hoosiers will hang around most of the game, but I think at the end, Ohio State will probably advance and move on to the next round.
Mike, anything jump out to you in terms of the CFP rankings that you saw? Anything, teams out of place, somebody missing, maybe you're expecting to see?
Um, I was seeing one bracket that had Memphis as number 12,
It's crazy because essentially
and I
the
was like,
current system,
what?
Jackson, correct us if I'm wrong, but the current system, they used to have it where the conference winners get an automatic bye, and everyone was like, "That's
Hmm.
stupid." The Big 12 and the ACC are terrible, so what? That's a bad idea. So now they have it where it's seeded 1 through 12, but you get two automatic places for uh every for power for best ranked conference teams. Is that I'm probably explaining this
Hmm.
poorly, Jackson, but I think the likes of Memphis and obviously the winner of the Big 12 and the winner of the ACC, there's guaranteed to be like a non-power five school, something like that. I think in terms of that format, Jackson, is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. So, for example, so let's say if Memphis plays the Georgia Bulldogs, for example, then that would be the matchup the Tigers would be going up against. Or if BYU were to somehow make the college football playoff and play against, I don't know, let's say Ole Miss, for example, that would be crazy. But I doubt that's going to happen. But if but but let's say if Oregon advances, then they would probably take the winner of Ole Miss. Maybe that would be a perfect example.
Yeah.
And,
So
and Ohio State goes on a bye and they play Indiana. That would be one of them. So that's
yeah.
so you get the idea, and that's really how the sitting playoff bracket breakdown really goes. If that really makes sense to you.
Yeah, so essentially, if you're the conference champions will make it automatically. So the winner of the ACC and the winner of the Big 12, and I suppose in this case, the winner of the American Athletic, in the case of Memphis, will be in the playoff no matter what. They
Correct.
won't get the four highest ranked teams will automatically get the
Get a
four
bye.
highest spots. Exactly. And I think I
Right.
agree with that. I think that was
Hmm.
crazy last year where like the likes of Arizona State was getting like a bye or whatever from the big. I mean, come on. They're a good football team, but they're playing farmers and plumbers out there in the Big 12, right? So I think this is a good format. I think including not being exclusionary, not having it be 12 Big 10 or let's say 10 Big 10 SEC and then, throw in like a chuck in like Virginia and
So it's a good format as long as Vanderbilt's in there.
exactly, Mike. Now you're getting to the point. Well, we're not in there right now because as it stands, the likes of Memphis and these Big 12 who has like Utah and BYU are knocking us out, but we'll give it time. We'll see. I think obviously we should touch upon. I mentioned it earlier. BYU is playing Texas Tech uh, on this Saturday in a
Uh-huh.
Big 12 matchup.
Yeah,
Uh,
BYU and Texas Tech.
Kind of feels like a winner go home for the Big 12 because the Big 12, like we said, doesn't quite get this credit from the
Hmm.
CFP. So it kind of feels like you have to almost win that conference to get in. So that ratchets the stakes even higher for that matchup.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Jackson,
Yeah.
what do you think about the slate of games we have this weekend? Probably the biggest ranked matchup we have is the one I mentioned in the Big 12. Other games to look at, A&M's traveling to Missouri, Oregon's traveling to Iowa. LSU, Alabama is always a good game, despite the struggles LSU have had. That will be, always a good contest between those two. But any other games standing out for you? We thought Indiana Penn State could be a big game. Penn State's obviously rolled over on their
Indy's
season.
going to win by 2 touchdowns.
They didn't get destroyed. Well, I mean, I say they didn't get destroyed. They lost 38-14 to Ohio State last weekend, which is, what it's respectable, I guess, but at least they're at home this weekend. So any case for the Beavers there, Jack, or you're obviously Indiana. You're Indiana till you die. You're a Kurt Signetti fanboy, so you're picking the Hoosiers there, right?
I am.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other matchups catching your eye here, man?
Well, as far as the LSU Alabama game goes, so I do think Alabama will definitely win the game, but LSU can definitely try to hang around and keep things close. But I just think it's too much Alabama for me because LSU, much like Florida did last week, is that they're in a total rebuild, and I think that it's too much Alabama for me. Ty Simpson is playing on a very high level, and Jam Miller and Proctor and Jamar Barr and those young guys are really stepping it up and playing on a high level that pretty much anyone in the SEC cannot catch, or anywhere or anybody in college football for that matter, other than Ohio State. But yeah,
Or Jackson, let me
Alabama is definitely going to be winning that game for sure.
ask you. Do you know, trivia question, the nicknames for the LSU Alabama rivalry game? I know you love a good nickname for a rivalry. Don't look it up on your computer. I can see it on your screen. What is the nickname of the LSU Alabama rivalry? Unofficial nickname for this matchup.
Ooh,
I'll give you a hint. It involves the month that it's played in.
man.
Any ideas, Mike?
Um, the Earthquake Bowl.
I've got some crickets here on the podcast. This game is known as the first Saturday in November, i.e., referring to the
Oh,
time of year that it's played at. You probably heard that before, right, Jack?
Yeah.
yeah. With the first, well, what you got? Well. Don't forget, there's always the first Saturday in October, and I'm
And which
sorry,
one is
that
that?
almost that will be the Alabama Tennessee rivalry game.
So
But
Alabama loves to play on the big matchups on the first of the month, huh?
oh yeah, they do. I totally forgot about the first Saturday in November. I just kind of forgot about it. But
Or in more recent years, Mike, this game has been known as the Saban Bowl, Alabama versus LSU.
Mhm.
Mike, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a couple of rumors linking Saban back to this LSU opening. What do
LSU.
you, what do
Yeah.
you made of that?
I don't see him coming back, but LSU finally has a new college president, and their athletic director is finally solidified. So, yeah, who knows? Stranger things have happened, but he may be coming. He could come home to LSU, but I don't see it.
Jack, what'd you make of that rumor? Could you see Nick putting back on the purple and gold?
No, I don't see it happening. I think he'll continue to be a color analyst and commentator for the for ESPN College Game Day. I don't I don't buy it. I don't see him continue to coaching for the rest of for the rest of his um, career. I don't see it happening.
He likes hanging out with Pat McAfee too much. He can't give that up, can he?
No, there. How could you not? He just loves to talk to and analyze and analyze and talk about the game of college
Definitely loves
football.
talking, that's for
Why
sure.
would he? Why would he
Why?
leave for and go back to coaching?
I
He
agree.
loves his job.
I agree. I agree. I think it's too much hassle at his advanced age, I think, to take on a project like that. So
But
that's-
they could bring back Coach O as Ed Ogeron, the
Oh,
Cajun
God.
guy.
Go Tigers.
Although the LSU athletic department, by the way, is not ruling him out, so I wouldn't mind seeing Coach Ogeron as a return to his school that he loves, that he's beloved by his players for the Louisiana State University job. So I wouldn't rule. So I'm not going to rule out Coach Ogeron because he is the most funniest Cajun talking SC coach you'll ever hear and see.
Well, at this rate, I wouldn't rule out Tony the Tiger from the candidacy, given the way some of the names I've seen linked to this position. So stay tuned for that one. But Mike, really quickly before we leave college, I want to just ask you about the ACC. Obviously,
Mhm.
you're out there in the Commonwealth state of Virginia. They're currently at top of the ACC ranking. So
Yeah.
as it stands today, they'd be in the postseason.
Wahoo.
Is that surprising to you? You think
That's-
maybe they've gone under the radar so far this year, haven't they?
I think so. I mean, seeing Virginia football ranked anywhere is always a surprise. But yeah, you picked the upset last weekend in the ACC. NC State
The Wolfpack.
beating Georgia Tech.
It was a great prediction by me, but Mike, don't sell yourself short. You also called another ACC prediction with the
That's right.
Mustangs taking out the Hurricanes. So a
They
couple
took them
ACC.
out in overtime.
Hey, the win still counts, doesn't it?
Carson Beck threw an interception inside the 10-yard line in overtime, which pretty much sealed the game for the Mustangs.
Miami season has been unraveling, and I can't say I'm too disappointed at it,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
The way their fans like to chat, but
So
certainly,
my upset pick for
yes,
this week,
please.
Iowa beats Oregon by 3.
Ooh,
Oh, wow.
I get it. The home field
Wow.
advantage there, huh?
Uh-huh. Well, Iowa's 6-2. Oregon's 7-1, so it's not like Iowa's a chump school.
Iowa's not a bad football team, are they?
No, that's my feeling. Then the other game I'm watching is it's going to be a good game. Is BYU and Texas Tech.
Absolutely.
Texas Tech's got a great run defense, but BYU's quarterback Bear Botchmare is a freshman, but he wears number 47. He's got a fullback mentality,
You don't see that every day.
but he can throw the ball.
That's what counts.
He's got 1,693 yards, 11 touchdowns, but he's also got 9 rushing touchdowns.
How about that?
Putting together a good season. BYU football has always been a bit of a sleeping giant out there on the West
Yeah.
Coast, haven't they? And
They
now
have.
now that they're part of the Big 12, a bigger conference than what maybe they're used to, they're certainly getting their national recognition here. So this is a huge stage
Yeah.
for them on Saturday to do something special.
Yeah, so I got a feeling BYU may end up winning. They're going to win on the road.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Mike. I'm got the Cougars in that one, Jack. What are you feeling? The Red Raiders or the Cougars there, man?
I am I am all in. I am all in on the Cougars.
Okay, we're 3 for 3 on the Cougars, which probably means the Red Raiders will win. But hey, let's see, let's see. We'll leave it till Sunday.
And then
Uh, yeah,
and then also the Georgia Bulldogs were coming off a come from behind win over Florida in the world's largest outdoor party, and Kirby Smart, when trailing by 10 points, he's found a way to win the game, and that was different. So give Kirby Smart a lot of credit. Georgia is off to a 7-1 start. They are taking on they are taking on another named Bulldog team's mascot of Mississippi State. So I think Georgia's going to win this game by a blowout, even a larger blowout than the game last week against World's largest outdoor party down in Jacksonville, because that game was actually a close one and they survived
closer
it.
than we thought, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, and you got to give a lot of credit to Georgia, because that game could have gone either way.
I give credit to Florida
The
for
way it
keeping
looked
it
like,
competitive
because
too, as well.
yeah, because they were very competitive. They fought hard, but it was just all too much Kirby Smart and those Georgia Bulldogs, Bernard Stockton, just just setting up game winning drives, and that was the difference in that game last week. Heading into this matchup this week, Georgia is looking to continue their dominance and looking to go 8-1 against Mississippi State, who is 5-4 this season, and Mississippi State doesn't really impress me. They don't have great big name players, so I would expect Bollins and Branch and Allen and those guys and Aaron Stockton to to come up with some big points and passing yards, and I think the Georgia Bulldogs will win this game, and they are going to go on the road and beat the other Bulldog teams of Mississippi State. Dogs win it.
Fair enough, fair enough. And Jackson, you told me before the show that you think Citadel is going to beat Ole Miss in Mississippi, right?
Um,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
no,
I got you right there, didn't I?
no, I didn't. I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. That must have been somebody else that told me that. Yeah.
Well, I think that must have been Blake B.L. Lumberger that
Oh,
said it.
okay.
That,
Yeah,
that he thinks the
they're
Citadel's
only
going to
53.5
yeah,
points
that Blake
favorites. So
Lumberger, if he's listening, he thinks the Citadel's going to upset the Ole
he
Miss
probably would
Rebels.
say that, wouldn't he?
Rebels,
Yeah.
he would, but I would disagree with him, because the Ole Miss Rebels are a tough team to beat at home, and the Citadel is definitely not good enough to beat an SEC team. So I would have to disagree with Blake Lumberger right there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, interesting weekend in college football, and I think another interesting weekend in the professional game as well. Let's shift to a little bit of NFL chat here, gentlemen. We got some good matchups. I really like the Monday night game this week, gentlemen. The Eagles traveling to Green Bay, two NFC contenders, taking things on. And I think as well, we should mention the NFL trade deadline just passed, and we saw a couple of big moves. I think the past couple of years we're seeing more and more trade deadline activity in the NFL versus to what we're used to seeing. Usually, we see trades in baseball, we see trades in basketball. Professional football in this country has been a little bit more hesitant to kind of be more of these reactionary trades, but we did see the New York Jets trade star cornerback Sauce
They
Gardner to
they
the
traded their
Indianapolis
whole team.
Colts, who traded away two first round picks and a receiver, I believe, right, Mike,
Uh-huh.
to the Jets for the services of Sauce Gardner. So,
They
putting
also
two and two,
traded they
uh,
also traded Michael Carter the second to the Eagles.
and they also traded their defensive tackle, or the Jets traded their defensive tackle
Hmm.
to the Cowboys, right?
They did. It's like, but
Fire sale.
but the Cowboy, you're not going anywhere. Why are you giving up your draft picks?
But the loss to Arizona on Monday didn't do it for you, Mike?
I just don't understand. I mean, but yeah, the Eagles also picked up a the Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins.
They were quite active in picking up players on the defensive
So
side of the ball.
they bolstered their defense, and I think that is going to play well Monday night against the Packers.
For sure. They clearly recognized they needed to patch a few holes in that defense.
The Packers are going to
And
lose their second straight game at home.
if they're not careful, for sure, if Bill Lineberger was here, he'd be raving about that
Yeah.
quite impressive
The
performance
16-13
by
last
the
week by the
Carolina
Panthers.
Panthers. Jack, what'd you make of that game, man?
Wow, that was you're talking about
Wow
a
is the
huge
right word.
statement win going into a hostile environment at Lambeau Field. And if I recall, those Packers were wearing those wooden helmets, which
Yeah,
I'm not a
I
fan
think
of.
that's the reason they lost, Jack, because they're wearing
Yes,
leather helmets.
I would
You
agree with
can't
you
wear
there.
ugly uniforms.
Nah,
That's
it's
their problem,
It's a
not
bad
mine.
look.
It's just bad luck. It's bad TV.
Yeah, bad TV ratings is the way you would put it, Mike. And so to me, Rico Dotto was really breaking tackles and really making big plays and really really running so many yards on the field and setting up big plays um, big plays down the field, and that was really the difference in that game of how the Panthers won that game and how the Packers just really got away. Things are not looking great in that direction. That's how the Packers just lost that game. It is because of giving up big plays, and that was really the turning point of how the Packers lost the game. And Matt LaFleur's got to had is not happy. Just a very tough questions during his post game press conference. That was really the difference in that game. But now the Panthers are 5-3. They're tied with the Kansas City Chiefs overall in the NFL. But the one thing that really stands out is that I have to bring up it, is that I have to bring up Uncle Mike, that I'm sorry to bring it up, that our
He's not
Seahawks
sorry.
beat your Commanders and
They didn't just beat the Commanders; they walloped the
It was a whooping.
Commanders. It was a whooping.
and yeah and really the fans up in DC and the Commanders, because I was just listening to sports talk radio in Washington,
Bet up
and
field.
they were, yep, that's right, Bet up field, and they were saying that it was a lost season for the Commanders. That fans want to let this team down. They lost Jaden Daniels as their quarterback for most of the season. It sounds like an elbow injury. And that was just devastating for that fan base.
We lost two other starters Sunday, Marshawn Lattimore, and what really hurts is Luke McCaffrey is out for the season with the collarbone.
Yeah, and Lerman Tonso and those guys, and yeah, it's really tough to be a Commanders fan this season, because Jaden Daniels, well, if he doesn't recover and bounce back from an injury heading into the next season, which I hope he does, but if he doesn't, then we would be talking about comparisons to Robert Griffin III, which he never played a snap of football ever
let's
again.
Don't go there.
Don't kick a man while he's down.
Yeah.
Let's let Mike give
That's
us 2
why
cents
I'm wearing my
here.
Capitals.
Mike, obviously, no, Jackson. Let's let Mike
Right.
have a
Okay.
word. He's a DC man here. We gotta bring some light into this. Obviously, it's been a rough season, rough injuries, but you gotta have confidence. Well, first of all, let me ask you, as a Commanders fan, were you disappointed that Coach Quinn left Daniels in the game in that scenario to get injured?
At the time, absolutely. At the time, it was 38-7. Why? And to Quinn's credit, he did finally come out and say, "Yeah, that was not good."
Yeah, I mean, you got to call a spade, right?
But I this is a lot. This is a lost season for the Commanders, unfortunately. Frankie Luvo will be suspended Sunday. He had his third hip drop tackle on him. They fined him the first 2 times, and now he's suspended. So, the Lions will definitely win on Sunday.
Hammer the Lions money line there for sure.
And they're saying that maybe Daniels be back by week 15. But, if the Commanders are out of the playoffs, why bringing him back? Why bring him back?
Yeah, there are a lot of tough questions to be answered for the fan base and for the fans up in DC for who are blood of the burgundy and gold. But
the rumor has it. Rumors were going around. They're trying to talk to the Falcons and get Kirk Cousins back.
And you have to.
No.
I wouldn't want to go there. That's just
how desperate are you?
Gets things worse right there. But to your point, Mike, about the Commanders this season, well, it wasn't really their fault. It was just that last year when they had this magical run heading into the NFC Championship game against Philadelphia, well, that was in large part because they played a very soft schedule where they against very weak rookie quarterbacks. But this year, thanks in large part to their schedule, it has been brutal. They had a tough stretch, and to your point about um, th- that they are going up against teams that are above 500, and that's just not a great sign for your fan base and for the team. But to your point about not having Jaden Daniels on the field coming back from injury, well, in my opinion, I know that everybody had different opinions on sports talk radio shows up in DC have different opinions on this, but in my opinion, I would have never started him. I would have rested him and never started a game. I would just rest him through at least most of the season. Maybe he should just he should just stay at home, just take a break from football and just don't go to the game against
Just put on some
the
Netflix.
Dolphins in Madrid. And I think that he should
popcorn.
recover and turn things over to Marcus Mariota and hope for the best for the other Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and hope that James Daniels just gets back better than ever next season, because at the end of the day, the Commanders just had so many problems heading into this season, where you had Terry McLaurin just missed most of the training camp because of the contract holdout, and Laremy Thompson with injuries, and Deebo Samuel just wasn't playing great. Didn't do much lately. So I feel like, to me, for the Commanders, they're going to have a long day, long season for them, because with their schedule, it is brutal, it is tough, and those fans up in DC are not liking it, because the Seahawks just outplayed the Commanders defense. They destroyed them. Jackson Smith and Jimba and those guys and one of the players, the Seahawks, that I never heard of, scored a touchdown, and they scored again, and they kept doing some scoring drives and plays, and they did it by names that I never even heard before. Like, they did it, and what the Seahawks did is that they started all rookie players, and they kept making big plays, and the Commanders just couldn't get him off the field on third down or on second or third down or fourth down, because that was the difference of the game. Because Mike McDonald, got to give him a lot of credit, because this Seahawks team is for real, and they're they're in connection for the NFC West. They're a great team for a reason.
Yeah, top of the
The
table right now.
Seahawks just picked up another wide receiver, Shahid. Rashid Shaheed.
Rashid Shaheed, yeah.
Yeah, from
Good
the
pickup.
Saints.
I like him, yeah.
Great pickup.
Really good
The
pickup.
Seahawks lead the league in explosive plays, and now they have a second wideout to go to. So watch out, who's ever playing. Seattle's offense is going to be
dangerous.
awesome.
Yeah,
sure.
Sam Darnold is playing at a very high level, Mike,
Mhm.
and that was
Absolutely.
really the difference from their game on Sunday Night
Yep.
Football. And
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was really
gotta-
the question mark coming into the season is,
Mhm.
some of these new quarterbacks, the likes of Darnold.
Now he's got
Uh,
he's got yet another target.
We talk about all these high-level quarterbacks and, these, freaks of nature, Mahomes, Allen, Jackson. Look at top of the NFC. We got Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. I think these guys are great quarterbacks. They're not athletic freaks. I think having the right system around you, and it's an obvious thing to say, but being with a complete football team is so important for a quarterback. Having that system. We've seen Sam Darnold struggle with the Jets. Good season in Minnesota, comes to Seattle, who are they themselves, have a great defense, able to continue that success. Same thing with Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts with his Eagles team, having that system, that foundation. It's so important. And you can say the same
They
thing.
all have good offensive lines.
Absolutely. It's an obvious thing. It's not.
If you don't have a good offensive line, I don't care who your quarterback is. They're not gonna do it for you.
1,000%, 1,000%. I think
Hey,
the
you're
team's.
forgetting about one. You're forgetting about Indiana Jones and
I
Drake
was gonna
May
say,
for the
Yeah.
Patriots and the Colts. They
who
are
would have
playing on
thought?
a very high level.
Who would have thought, Jackson, in 2025 we'd have the Colts and Patriots top of the AFC? What is this, 2007 or something, man? What's going on here?
Feels like it.
Is this Brady
Feels
Manning
like it.
2.0?
Feels like it to me. And
May versus Jones.
we could get ourselves a repeat of that all these years later. It does, yeah, just certainly does feel that way. And then want to focus on our attention before we get ourselves out of here. I know we're out of time. It's top of the hour, but I want to turn my attention to tonight's game on Thursday Night Football, where we got Bo Nix, the Heisman-winning quarterback from Oregon, and for college ball at Oregon and Auburn.
He didn't win a Heisman.
Well, no, but
He was nominated for one.
He
He
was
was
a candidate.
there.
But
He put on a suit.
right. But my point is that he played his college ball at Auburn and at Oregon during his college career, and his Broncos are his team is going up against the Las Vegas Raiders, who
Stink.
because they lost in a overtime thriller to the Jaguars, who the Jaguars kicker kicked a game-winning game-tying 68 long field goal, which I don't know if you saw, but he kicked the longest field goal in NFL history during the preseason, and that is that is real, and that is the NFL's record best for any active kicker in league history. So that says a lot for what the says a lot, but the Raiders lost to the Jaguars in overtime, and
Well,
in heartbreaking fashion for the fan base, but still couldn't find a win this season. They're 2-6, and they don't like the start they're in right now. Now they have to go to Mile High and take on the Broncos, and hopefully they can hang around and turn this thing around against what would be Ashan Jeffrey and Brock Bowers and Geno Smith, who used to play for Seahawks, who was a bust for our Seahawks. Now going up against the Broncos. I think the Broncos will win this game. I think the Raiders will cover and keep things close, and they'll be and they will hang with them until the fourth quarter. But I'm going to be taking the Broncos to win tonight. And my biggest question is, I don't see it happening, but will Bo Nix and the Broncos dethrone the Chiefs? I don't see it happening, but I'm just going to throw it out as
Wouldn't shock me.
possibility.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
Well, the Raiders just traded Jacoby Myers to the Jaguars, so that's one less target for Smith to throw to. He doesn't really have too many healthy wideouts. Brock is just coming back from an injury, so I don't think this is going to be a close game. I see the Broncos winning fairly big tonight.
No, I'm with you. I think
I
the
agree,
Raiders
Mike.
have been quite poor this season. Mike mentioned as well, sellers at the deadline. Denver is looking strong, compact unit. Knicks might not be, Tom Brady or Joe Montana, is he? But this Broncos team has got a good defensive core, a good strong team. So I think Denver is going to be a strong playoff team and should get the victory here tonight on Thursday.
This was supposed to be the season that Pete Carroll was hoping for, but now
Not quite.
his coaching tenure is pretty much running out, and I think his time in his coaching career is coming to an end. And I think
We'll see next year. We'll see next
and I
year.
think
He rolled the dice too many times.
maybe
Yeah.
he should be an analyst, but I think he should really quit and call his retirement and just move on for his next chapter of life in the Carroll household.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Hey,
We'll
before
see.
we get out of here, I do have to give a shout out to Alex Ovechkin.
Yes, of
Yes.
course.
900
Yes.
goals.
What an achievement.
And since I'm a Washington fan, that's the only good news that we have to celebrate. So
Absolutely.
Good for you, Ovi.
There you go.
Congratulations to Ovechkin, historic player for a historic sport. So absolutely, a very valid shout out. Well, good to end on a good note there for Mike's Caps, but that'll do it for here on Good Guys Sports. Thank you, Jackson, Mike Roby. Myself, Blake Gerke, signing off here for another great week of sports. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.